You're only willing to make a fool out of yourself to your peers and to your people because you were once impoverished and hated it. Made it out, so to speak. Now they tap dancing. They tap dancing.
Church, this man don't not never need to have no more people in his pews. Lorenzo Sewell. Let's just call it that.
And when we let freedom ring, we will be able to speed up that day for all of your children. Black men and white men, Protestant and Catholic, Jew and Gentile will be able to sing in the meaning of that old Negro spiritual. Free at last, free at last. Thank you, God Almighty. We are free at last.
Sir, the unapologetic shucking and driving you doing on this inaugural stage is truly unfortunate. When I see stuff like this, I feel like the only reason this man wasn't struck down by lightning is because God has changed the channel. God is somewhere just scrolling past a lot of this foolery, and I don't blame God one bit. Who got time to be throwing lightning bolts every 2 seconds? We never see a sunny day. It's the Chaplain of the Culture, MDiv and Black Church Studies scholar. Here we mix faith, culture, experience, and we make that whole dance. Lorenzo's mockery of King's message amongst a people that is trying and succeeding at dismantling many of the protections that the civil rights movement initiated, a movement that Martin Luther King led and helped to build. This is diabolical. King is the exemplar of nonviolent protest. But I believe if he was here today to listen to Lorenzo, he would have whooped his ass. Because King was in solidarity with the Black community, while Lorenzo is in service to money and power. His pockets are getting greased, make no mistake. Because shortly after his mockery of King and the message of Christ, he released a cryptocurrency and was encouraging folks to buy it. Black people willing to tap dance this hard usually come from some really rough, impoverished circumstances. That's why so many Black Republicans are just hilarious to me, because you are only willing to make a fool out of yourself to your peers and to your people because you were once impoverished and hated it. You were once a victim of systemic injustice that you refuse to acknowledge now. And with your new class status and wealth, you are looking at Blackness, or the idea that your Blackness, that was the problem all along. As soon as I took that off, I'm rich now. Lorenzo is just like Steven from Django, fully cooning and selling out because he went from the field to the house. He don't not never want to go back to the field again.
What's the matter? Why you so ornery? You miss me, huh?
Oh, yes, sir. I miss you like a hog miss fly, like a baby miss mammy titty. I miss you like I misses a rock in my shoe.
Lorenzo's father went to prison. His younger brother was unalived, and he was a drug dealer and gang member for some of his life. Out in Detroit, mind you. Detroit, mind you. And Lorenzo will do anything to never see that type of poverty again. So he aligns himself with the people with the money and who have the power, who he thinks is protecting him. And I'm not surprised. Like Omarosa did the same thing. Her father was murdered when she was 7 years old. So now that they made it out, so to speak, now they tap dancing. They tap dancing, and they tap dance the hardest because they have associated all that trauma with their culture, because they believe the lie that their suffering is inextricably linked to and indicative of Black culture. The pervasive evil that causes the suffering, the premature death, the extreme poverty is actually tied to oppression that is being actively sustained by those that benefit. Duh. Lorenzo is a world-class sellout and a loser. But it's actually this bishop that got it right.
I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land. May God grant us the strength and courage to honor the dignity of every human being, to speak the truth to one another in love, and walk humbly with each other and our God for the good of all people.
But this lady, this bishop, deserves a medal, Everyone else is too afraid to say it, but Trump and the MAGA Republic have no compassion. He calls people aliens as if they're from another planet. He calls people illegal as if their existence needs to be sanctioned by him. This administration and the Americans that support it refuse to acknowledge the roles that the U.S. government has played in the instability of some of these countries and the fallout because of it. Our government's near ceaseless meddling throughout the years has caused a lot of displacement. I know some of y'all think that Trump is just being practical, but there are ways to be practical and compassionate at the same time. They can both happen. Being practical does not have to be depraved of compassion. Practicality and compassion are not mutually exclusive. The idea that there is no more room is antithetical to the message of Christ. And this bishop understands that. This is the same Jesus that is said to have had only 5 loaves of bread and 2 pieces of fish and made it enough. The Spirit of the Lord doesn't cast people out. The Spirit of the Lord draws folks in. You can't call yourself a follower of Christ if you miss the compassion, the understanding, and the grace. But let me know what you think. It's the Chaplain of the Culture, here to expand ideas and grind your gears, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.